Wide panel here today.
Oh,
We're going to be
fun.
talking about We Are Quantum, a new book that Lisa Schermerhorn has come out with, and I'm going to turn it over to Lisa. Lisa, thanks for bringing us all together for this.
Oh, thank you. Well, there's 36 authors altogether. I'm just sitting here looking at this amazing group of people, and I'm actually getting really emotional because
Mhm.
this whole thing started over a year ago when my daughter came to me and said, asked me, what is quantum? And I've read books on quantum physics, and I'm like, I don't think she wants any of that. And then I thought, what's the best way to explain quantum? And I thought, through story. And then
Mhm.
I started to think about all the people that I know that basically quantum is an expression of each person's humanity. You know, everyone expresses in such a different way, and I thought if people got a little bit from, something from one person that they can relate to, and everyone here has such an incredible diverse background, and I just it's kind of taken flight on its own.
Mhm.
And I'm just so honored and privileged to know I'm personal friends and have met almost every single person in this book except one person, which is Sir Robert Edward Grant, who came to me through another person. But yeah, I'm so excited. So I have a number of questions. And when we talk about We Are Quantum, and I don't know who wants to answer this question. When you hear those three words, what do they mean to you personally, and what experiences have have convinced you that reality is more than we thought? So I didn't know if anyone wants to answer that one. It's kind of a loaded question.
I'll start. That's okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, quantum to me, I have a Christian background, so I believe it's describing us as spiritual beings. We have a soul, a consciousness, but then also a spirit, and we're in this flesh body temporarily. So we're more than just this physical construct that you know we've been born into and taught. And so knowing that, when we really understand that and embrace that, then the supernatural is expected. Miracles are expected. Uh, we become alive, connected with our Creator, the Holy Spirit for me. And I had experiences since I was a young child, and Lisa, you know, quite a bit of my stories. And I had at 3 years old, I had a dog attack me, and it was quite severe, a German Shepherd, and I was being thrown around like a rag doll. I could see it because I left my body and I was floating with an angel with that was Jesus. And we left for a while. I didn't want to go back to Earth. And then he brought me back, said, you can stay or go. And I knew obviously it was my higher self, my spirit understanding what this meant. And I felt
Mhm.
bad for the chaos happening on earth because my parents were very upset. Neighbors had already come over. They couldn't get the dog off me, yelling. And so I said, oh, I need to go back. Before I could even get the words in my consciousness, I was instantly in my body. And the dog let go and ran away. And you know, people were shocked. They're like, we have to take her to the hospital. She's bleeding. But when they started to look at me, there's not even one scratch on me. And of course, to me, I understood at that moment because God gave me that ability as a little child to know that this, what you think has to happen in the physical realm does not have to happen that way because we're going into the spiritual realm. Time and space are not what we think of it here on earth. And that's when I go into in the chapter I wrote about how prayers go outside of time and space. So they could technically work in the what we see as the past and in the future, not just the present time. So that's my introduction to it. The more I go through my trials and tribulations, the more I know this to be true and walk in the spirit as much as I can. It's a journey.
Wow.
Perfect.
Amazing. Amazing. Chris, oh, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I'd like to go. So there's when I look at it, and my background is Navy SEAL, SEAL Team 6, Tier 1, and then CIA for a long time. Very spiritual, remote viewer, all that kind of stuff. But I look at it because if I hadn't become a Navy SEAL, I probably would have been a physicist, believe it or not. So I'm really into quantum physics and mechanics, and it basically talks about entanglement. So particles can become deeply interconnected, instantly sharing states across distances. So when I was in combat zones, and I talk about this in the book with Lisa, I was able to know when attacks were coming because I'm reaching that entanglement. I'm focusing my mind to like tell me when there's going to be an attack, tell me when there's going to be a threat, and I would pick up on it sometimes a week before it happened, and I would tell my teams that it was going to happen. I would tell them where it's going to happen, the time, all kinds of different stuff like that. Of course, most people were like, "Oh, that's crazy." In fact, the guys I work with are like, "You're out of there." And then, and then it would happen, and they're like, "Okay, we don't understand what you're doing, but let us know if you see something else." So I kept them informed, and every place that I went, there was never anyone that got injured because I kept everybody safe. So that's part of the entanglement. So time and space are irrelevant once you reach these levels of consciousness.
Did they ever accuse you of being a spy because you knew things before everyone else?
No, because I was a spy. Work for the CIA, you can't get accused. I can't be accused of being a spy.
Love that. Oh my gosh, does anyone else? I've got Tom. So
Yeah, I
for
love it. I love following great people. This is awesome. And thanks for putting this assembly together. I just want to be brief and share that from my childhood experience that led to the story of the Matrix. First of all, the Matrix allowed me to experience a crucible of rejection, which was really a great development process to be rejected by a world, to be looked at askance if you say you wrote something, even though you did it and hold the copyrights, really did allow me to develop in a different world sense. And one of the things I learned was compassion and humility is really what's going to advance our society to the next level. When you say quantum, I'm thinking about how we replace what we think we know with childlike wonderment. When we do that, we're going to open the gateways for all of us to embrace. If you watch how children play together often, they embrace each other, they create together. That's what we need with our sciences and everything else, our schooling. We need to go open up to creating together in a friendly environment where we allow wonderment to take over instead of ego. Compassion, humility will drive us, and there'll be a joy in creating, a joy in striving together, a joy in advancing humanity. And that's what I want to bring to the table.
beautiful.
Wow. I just got to say, I mean, that's what's happened with meeting Lisa and Barrie in person, and then Honey over in Ireland, and then meeting Chris O'Connor at the Awakening Summit. Now it's just, you absolutely nailed it, Tom. And we're watching it unfold in real time because that's how this is coming to be today. That's incredible.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything they want to say about We Are Quantum? Yeah, go ahead, Annie.
So I just want to talk about the soul for a minute because we come in here for this big experience and we're in here for an experience that's bigger than we've ever had before. And I know when I was little, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm here again. Can I please go? But I knew I was here for a reason. And I did have a near-death experience and came back because I knew that I needed to stay for my parents. But I was like 7, turning 8. And when you're just focused on your soul and the lessons that you're learning here and all the things that you're here to create and do and experience, and you can see it from above instead of being miserable about things, then your whole life just opens up. And we're here to have that open up right now. So I'm just really excited about the time that we're in. And being quantum is, everybody here is quantum. Everybody watching is quantum. We're all eternal. And just remembering that.
No, that's go ahead, Jen.
Gee, you guys, I love this discussion, but I'm thinking going to my mother, who at 15 died on the table, and told me afterwards she saw everything going on in the room, and the doctor coming in saying she was dead, blah blah blah. That's how I was brought up. So I brought my four daughters up that way to know that they were intuitive, and quantum would be the word, but we didn't use that. And they have a godfather that was an incredible psychic healer, Alex Tannis, and he wrote a book, You and Your Psychic Child. So I tried what he wanted, what you are saying, he wanted every single person to know we all have it.
Yeah.
It's easy, and we all have it. People got nervous about the title, but I know that it's within all of us, the quantum, the healing, and that we're all healers. I mean, and so my life was involved with hospice 40 years, and now LifeWave with Michael and Tracy Joe. But I just, the idea of laying on of hands, all that you here have all experienced. I know you're all healers, and I sit amongst you sometimes, and I'm thrilled. So anyway, I'm going to stop. Tom, you brought us back to childhood, and I went right there. So one other thing I'll say, I did drown when I was 15, and a being came to me and told me to pull my hand up, and I was saved out of that. And I've seen at age 2, I saw Jesus. So through my life, I've been able to relate to things outside of me. Okay, thank you.
You know what's interesting, because you've got all these people who've had near-death experiences here on the panel. And I just spoke to this woman, Kara Curry, who remembered everything. She came in remembering everything and being able to see through the veil. She's a fascinating woman. And she said she refers to frequency and vibration as notes, like moving up the scale of music. And
Love
one
it.
of the things she said, because she had 4 near-death experiences, every time you have one of those, your soul frequency moves up an octave. It
Wow.
goes up a note. And that's why you see so many people who have had near-death experiences. Their psychic abilities and what they bring in to this world is much more enhanced. I just thought that was fascinating.
Mm,
Um, and I know, Chris, you've had many different lifetimes.
A
And I don't
few.
know, a few that he remembers. For people who don't know him, he's been taken at the age of 2, age progressed, moved into several different bodies. And I'd like for you to talk about what it's like to be put into a new body, having your consciousness, having your consciousness aware, and what that experience was like.
Well, honestly, it's like if you went to sleep and woke up, the only difference is you could be 20 years younger. In my case, I was 20 years younger twice by doing that. But then it took a couple or 3, 4 days for my consciousness, which is connected to the pineal gland, connected to the brain, and which is interconnected to the nervous system
mhm.
through piezoelectric energy. And it takes a couple of days for the consciousness and soul to actually integrate into the full system. So you feel like you have the flu for 3, 4 days. And then once you're over that, it's perfectly fine. But it doesn't feel like you were moved. I mean, if you have a pain in your body, then you wake up, there's no pain anymore. That would be the difference. But for the most part, you know, that you could be moved and you wouldn't really know it. You would just feel like you've had a few days of being really off, while the body
Hmm.
integrates.
But to look in the mirror and see yourself 20 years younger in a new body has got to be a shocking experience.
But expect it,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm
Good
like, well,
timing, Chris.
Well, yes, you knew you were, you
Yeah,
knew you were having that happen.
yeah. It wasn't a total shock. I'd
Yeah,
be like, oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to look like.
yeah. Now, one of the cool things about Barrie that is different than a lot of the authors, there's 36 people who have contributed. One of the things why I wanted her story in this is the fact that I always believed that we had to be wounded and have some kind of an experience to overcome in order to step into what our gifts were, right? To help us remember. That was just always the wounded healer, like someone overcomes adversity and then they step into their power. But Barrie grew up, and I don't know if you want to talk about that, was like literally grew up like where she is now, like literally in the woods on a ski mountain, just kind of with horses and just out in nature. So I don't know if you want to talk about that and what someone tried to do to you.
Oh, okay, sure. Well, yes, I did grow up in nature and I'm very comfortable. Oh, did you hear the bird?
Yeah,
Did you
you're
guys hear
still in
that?
nature.
You're still
Anyway, yes, my family owned ski areas. My father built them. And so I had this incredible playground to be a wild child. And I didn't have all these rules because I had parents that weren't by my side all the time, hovering. I never actually knew where they were. I knew that we were all fine, but I lived in a valley and it was very safe. And so, we all just did our own thing. And that's how I've gone through life. I've just done my own thing. And so I never saw my parents work for anybody. So I decided, oh, well, then that's how I do it. It's all the programming that we get. And to answer what you said, Lisa, about, trauma or hardship, I'm not saying that definitely had some sadness over relationships, but, I just feel like I've been very fortunate and I've always gone through life just being very excited about all the possibilities and the visual language that I speak and the art that I see. I've seen hundreds of scenes since I've been sitting in this forest, and because my mind and my body and my eyes go there, all my senses. And I just spent the last 3 days doing watercolor workshop. I actually have paint all over my hands. And, it fills my soul. And I have had a family member that tried to, when I was 18, I was going to school in New York City, School of Visual Arts. And I walked into the apartment and my relative was there. And I was telling him what I was doing. I was 18. I was, the world's your oyster, right? And he goes, well, good luck making it in photography, financially, etc. And I looked at him and I said, oh, really? Watch me and don't ever do that to me again. And I basically turned on my heel. And it was just, I don't believe in criticism when somebody's very excited, and that all children and people should just fly the best that they can because everything is right there for us. It's quantum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
And art
you.
does that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question for everyone here. Was there a specific event or experience that you had that suddenly made you realize that the reality that we were in wasn't the true reality? Like that, whatever we've been programmed to believe.
Yeah, when I walked out Scott's Airstream and he said, Joe, the world you think you're living in and the world you're living in are two different things. And what? And I had to
second that.
Yeah.
And now look at you.
With Scott, yeah, sometimes I have to kind of like digest what he said. This is, pre-Truth Stream, and then start looking a little bit outside of it. And finally, what made us start Truth Stream, as far as my take on it, I'm like, he needs more people to talk to about this stuff because I don't know anything about it. So it's been a crash course. It's been incredible. But yeah, having friends that help you look at things from different perspectives has been huge. And then I've met, it was cool because I met Michael Jaco in 2021 down in at Shasta. And then just from doing the show and being having my life enriched by all these conversations, and then meeting all these folks, in person. Not everyone here yet, Tom and Carrie and Jen, hopefully you guys soon as well. But it's just been an amazing experience to have it keep unfolding. And now the people that I'm surrounded with, mainly from the show, that's who I'm looking forward to talk to about the subject matter, because the people usually in person, maybe except for yesterday up at the healing spa I went to, but I can't have these conversations. So it's just been incredible to be enriched by these conversations and the people I've met through doing Truth Stream.
Yeah. Well, the key is to be open to it, right? And to have the open mind, because there's so many people who just shut down when you hear this. And Tom, I'm curious for you, because I know your story. You've lived with the complete opposite of what, Barrie's life. You started out with an incredible amount of abuse. And
Right. It
and,
was
and
basically
lost.
survival.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all survival. But that's why I feel blessed that I can reach out to those that go through that. And that's why I wrote the Matrix story too, Mortals, was that it could make a world where people like that would fit in and feel good in. I think we become enriched, those of us that survive those kind of gauntlets, and we find each other and we can say, I see you. Well done. You survived it, and the resiliency, that resiliency of it as a child, that we know a core in us is awakened, our synapses are forming. And in us is that understanding that I will survive. I will make this world better. I will come through. And to have that at 5 years old and 4 years old is a jump start in life. And so I would want people to think, no, if you're abused, doesn't mean you'll be an abuser. If you're abused, it just gives you a new platform to launch from. And that platform can be high and mighty. So, yeah.
Yeah. So what are human beings actually capable of that we've forgotten?
Everything.
Yeah.
Go ahead, honey.
Yeah.
Well, I just think that we're capable of whatever we want. And we have to remember that. That's what we're doing right now. So we're moving into a time where we're remembering that sound and thoughts are also sounds, creates light, which creates quantum mathematics or divine math, which then creates matter. So you have all of these things that are coming together. And if you can imagine it, then you can do it.
Very good. And for me, it's been kind of progressive. When I look on the physical realm, I was doing incredible stuff when I was at SEAL Team 6, as far as like shooting. I was able to shoot like 3 different, silhouettes of a head, 3 different ones, like in less than a second. So the reason why I was able to do this is because I started going into these realms of consciousness. I'd read about them, I'd, been through some classes and so forth, but really until I started to like let go and go into these realms of consciousness, that's when it really started to kick for me. And then I started a hand-to-hand program, and I was able to like do incredible things with that. And then I started remote viewing. That took it to another level. And the remote viewing, opened the door to so many other things, past lifetimes. I look at, some of the historical figures throughout time. There was Ananda with Buddha. I remember being with Buddha. I remember being Claudius Lysias with Jesus, and he was a Roman tribune that saved the Apostle Paul, and all these different things. So not just these great masters that I was learning under, but sometimes I was some of those masters as well. And I think that all of us in our own right have become masters within our own realm. So that's what I would like to say to everyone out there, that every one of you that are listening can and are probably in some level your own master in your own realm, and you can advance that over time.
Yeah, I totally agree. Chris, you have anything to add on that from the standpoint of, someone who's had an extraordinary life of moving in and out of so many different lifetimes and having awareness and memory, and also seeing what potential is. So from where we are now, and also connecting with these other higher, I don't know what higher, would you say higher level beings or higher dimensional beings, and
Higher
how they
density.
exist, higher density, thank you. Yeah. What is their life like, and where do you see us going, like, to actually reach that?
Well, that's a really long explanation I can't go into today, but um, as you know, Earth is moving from the third to fourth density right now, and we call it 4D and we call it 5D, and it's really the same thing. Fourth density is the fifth dimension. They have to interact. You have to have both to have physical presence. So calling it 4D and saying we want to go to 5D is really a huge disservice, and it's a negative attempt to confuse and separate people and confuse them, and they're not going to continue serving or searching because they don't understand what the letter D means. So just understand fourth density is also the fifth dimension. So having said that, uh, every time we step up to another vibrational level, which is the density level, there are a great many lessons and a great many changes that happen. And the fourth density is really a remarkable density, and it lasts for a few thousand years. People want to jump to 5D, but no, you don't. The beauty and the love is in 4. And so we don't want to skip it. You can skip it if you'd like, but it's not recommended. But for the most part, what we do is we go through and we search and we understand through the lessons of love, all the facets of love, what love means, how to use love, how to focus love, that love is not just an emotion, it is an actual energetic frequency. And that's what the universe was built on, was the frequency of love. That turns into photons, like Honey was saying. It turns into light, it turns into vibration, it turns into material, and it turns into you, and it turns into me. So, we just have to connect to that. And that's what fourth density is about. And it's also about communication, higher communication. It's about communication with your own food. We were talking earlier. Carrie was mentioning some stuff about, prayer and all that. And I'm all about that. I was raised fundamentalist Christian, and I kind of had to set everything down and then start picking it back up over the years as I began to understand what they actually meant. But for the most part, prayer, blessing, as you said, is outside of time and space. So when you eat food, for example, you bless every aspect of the food. And not only that, say if you're eating a hamburger, that's several animals, right? That's several cows. But then how many people have partaken in that group of ground beef? Probably thousands. And you bless every single person retrospectively. And what you're doing is you're just sending that down the line. And talk about quantum. To me, that is like mega quantum. It's like you're sending love, appreciation, gratitude to the food that sustains us. Where the third density especially is a density of consumption, of self-consumption, of which we're a part. It's just part of the journey that we take. Now we move out of that toward the fourth density into the fifth density, not dimension, fifth density. And then we begin to understand how that works. So I'm not going to continue going on because I could be here for an hour and a half. That's it for now.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I thought that was a great introduction to what I want to share real briefly. Is that you said dimension, density. I say dimension. And what's interesting is that we are all on different pathways. And I want those listening to realize that their pathways are very special too. When I wrote the Matrix story, they told me in New York, when I pitched it at Bonaventura, who said he claimed to discovered it, he said, "This is brand new. How did you come up with this?" And then when I wrote the Domestics, this is greenlighted for off Broadway right now at the Sheen, they said, "How did you come up with this?" Because I created my own path and thought away from everybody else. Each of us can think completely different, come up with your own names, and name it your own way. Have your children come up with their own names. Have your path, and with you have 12 different pathways, say, going to the same point we're going to reach. That's good. Not one way, 12 ways, 100 ways, a million ways.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm not negating. I'm just saying, what with all these great minds right here and people listening, each of you are going to create pathways. And if a couple of those get us to the right spot faster, great. If a couple of them take us along a journey that's very scenic, like that wonderful environment you're sitting in the woods there, very great. I think that, each of us concentrate on our vision, our journey, and we'll come up with all kinds of unique things. And all those puzzle pieces create a quantum.
Yeah.
Wow.
So well
Good.
said. And one of the reasons why I had 36 voices was because everyone manifests so differently. And there are people who are well known and people who you've never heard of. And I did that intentionally because I wanted everyone to understand that it's not just for people who are famous and people who are successful. It's for everyone. And I was blessed to meet Dr. Joe Vitale, and he gave us a chapter in the book. And but there's also a woman who's 80 years old who helped heal herself from third stage breast cancer with her mind. Like, she's all about positive mindset, and she's a jokester. And every time I get on the phone with her, she's got a really bad dad joke for me. But she does that at the hospital. She's a nurse, and she does that with she yells at nurses and doctors in the hospital if they don't have a good bedside manner. And she's really amazing that way. I have people who are animal communicators. Liz, who communicates with the plant kingdom. People who work with plant medicine to help people heal. It's there's so much diversity and variety. And that's why I thank you, because it's really important to realize that people can tap into their own abilities.
Dr. Carrie Madej, you had your hand up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I look at it a little differently because I guess my experience is going back to as a child. That not just me, but my two younger sisters, we would always say, oh, they have snake eyes. We would always point out the same person. And so now, getting a little older in the years, I know those are reptilian eyes. And so we know there are different beings out there, and we could agree on that. So at a young age, I knew we were not all the same. But I also realized that it's like 9. I knew there were controllers and controlled. And then I realized, I said, oh no, I was born a slave. This is a mistake. I'm not supposed to be a slave. We're not supposed to be slaves. And I didn't know what to do, but I said, well, when I get to be a big person, I'm going to do something about this. We're all big people now, right? We all can do something about it, which is looking at it in a different light, than you, Chris. Same kind of idea. So knowing that, okay, we've been oppressed, and to me, enslaved. And this goes along for me with the biblical writings, which I believe is true, historical document. And we now are waking up to that. And then we're realizing who we are, what we are, and whose we are. So when we really embrace that and become the I am, the words we speak, and to me, I can't do it without the Holy Spirit, then game over. But we have to go through this in this training. We're in a training period right now, boot camp, because we've got to understand we were supposed to be the guardians and caretakers of this planet, this realm, dimensions realm. But it didn't happen, right? But I believe in our lifetime, we're going to see something amazing and awesome. Goes beyond our human comprehension. So, did I freeze on you?
Just a little bit, but I think we got
We got it.
it's at the end. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, you know what?
Yeah, I think you got the gist. Yeah.
I so thank you for that, and also your faith. And I know, Jen, you have deep faith as well. Everyone has their own way of a belief, whether it's through a religion or through Christ or the universe, whatever you call it. But I see in Jen and Carrie especially, well, both of you especially, really have a deep faith. And one of the things that I see so much is the younger generation all turning back to God. Like there's a whole movement of these kids becoming conservative, much to their parents' chagrin. And it's a beautiful thing. And I'm curious if, Jen or Carrie, you want to talk to that, or even Honey, about this movement of going back to connection to source.
I could answer quickly because I know there's better ones probably, but you hit a good one because I have 12 grandchildren, and I have my oldest grandson is 21. And from the time he was in school over in Orlando, his team, it was a lacrosse team, they were very conservative. And he'd come and talk to me, about everything because nobody else would. And they were getting made fun of in school. He is the one I send a lot of the stuff I send to you guys. I do send some information out to people, but he's the one I send it to because he's a believer very deep in private, and his younger brother is too. So, and then a lot of the other ones. Some of the others have not been raised that way. They've been raised to be whatever, whatever. And my faith is something that I came to really 6 years ago. I mean, I've always had it, but started praying differently because I didn't understand what Carrie was explaining, snake eyes. Many of you know, I was like, white light, everything's pretty and lovely until about 6 years ago when I started learning about what was happening to the children in the world and people like Tom and so many people I love deeply. So I had to call a sister who's a nun and ask her, what's this about? And then she taught me from Genesis about Baal, and it's been there for 4,000 years. And then here we are praying for the light. And so it was so profound for me. And of course, that started my movement. And then I met Michael and Tracy Joe and our whole work. I'm thinking of you, Michael and Tracy Joe, as always talking about staying in the love bubble. What did as a therapist, which I am, and also in seminary, I always taught you choose the house of love over the house of fear. And if you don't, and that's in the chapter, but if you don't, you're going to lose yourself. So Michael and Tracy Joe and I just went bing because they believe the same thing. And yet we are facing darkness, which I never saw. And I still don't to this day see much of it. But I want everybody to know that I'm learning at 78, 79, I'll be this year, about darkness, and I got attacked this year from someone that was out of the blue. And I had to learn to forgive and try to process through because I think we and people of the light, Carrie, look at her, we get hit because we do carry that light. And so what we have to do is not hate them or go into fear, but to love them. And that's a biggie. That's a biggie. For the house of love, the Jaco love, house of love. Okay.
I mean, that's a big one. And I have to say, when I learned to forgive, like really forgive, not I forgive you, because I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen that one. Like, how's that going for you? No, the true forgiveness when you're at a place of neutrality and that person no longer triggers you, when you've truly released. Has anyone want to talk about their experience with forgiveness and how that helps with manifestation in their life? Oh, Tom.
Yeah, I do. Because it goes, I'm going to throw in the Matrix again. I'm sorry, but that actually is
Don't.
my baby. It's
It
my
is your
baby.
baby.
But here's something I want to point out to the Christian church and to Christians, as I am one, but I don't broadcast it. I whispered through art. And what you're going to find is the churches preach the atheist version of the Matrix. When they find out I have the copyright and I wrote it for the glory of God and to put Jesus Christ into mainstream film, not one church has asked me to speak about the original work, even though I have the copyright. They talk about the atheist version done by those that actually bastardize it. I think that's a call to what I'm trying to layer in, which is we need to, if you're part of the Christian body, not to isolate anybody out, we need to stop judging and making that we know it. Whenever I see the hint, I think in layers of any kind of arrogance when Christianity is talked about, you're out the door as far as having an influence. You are now segmenting yourself away as somebody who is almost laughable. What we need are those that have compassion, humility, pure heart, and caring, and not judgment, that go forward and bring these works together and Christian messages together. Many of us are working on different ways, some covertly, some openly, some broadcast, some do it quietly. But I want to see a body of believers that do not cast judgment on each other and lift all things that are possible, and don't confine the creativity under a dome of what you suspect is Christian and not Christian. Artwork needs to flurry. We don't need book burnings. We need to have creativity thrive. And I believe that Christ, when I wrote my work for Matrix, was encouraging that, not to have it like, oh, I don't agree with this person. No, I don't agree with their art. Let's free up what's possible. Let's free up what's creatively. Let's do that without judgment, without arrogance. If you have ego in Christianity, you're not a Christian. If you get rid of the ego and have compassion, you're my kind of person. I wrote for you. Sorry to be hardcore, but it's time to call it what it is. Quantum is togetherness across diversity. I celebrate not your religion, but your faith. I celebrate your ability to have faith, that spark of faith, not your religion, because I don't want us to divide anymore, and Galileo to be in trouble for talking about what the universe is. So let's just go back to embracing each other, get rid of the arrogance. I can spot it every time. Let's free up and be actually loving to each other. Anyway, sorry to preach, but I want you to know the Matrix story was,
I concur.
Yeah, go ahead. Because I want to say the one theme that weaves through the entire book of 36 stories is different versions of what you just talk about. Because in order to be a manifester, in order to be in the quantum, you have to be in that space. It's just that's how you manifest. Chris, I'm curious what you have to say about that.
Well, I mean, I absolutely agree with Tom. There's no way to move forward until we can have conversations and love one another no matter what. Because otherwise we're victims, and otherwise we are supporting those that want us separated so that we can be controlled. I mean, none of us want that. So why don't we find a way to get along? And I think that's the key, because ultimately for an entire race to evolve, spiritually, this is what it's all about. We're here trying to evolve our eternal soul. That's why we're here.
Yep.
Experiences, difficulties, beauty, it all helps evolve our soul through experience. And if we can't love someone else, even though their experience might be quite different, if we can't do that, we're the problem.
Right.
And we just need to understand that. That's all. I mean, it's a self-reflective thing.
Right.
I spent many years looking really deeply inwardly, and what am I doing to support the good and the bad, the positive, the negative, the service to self, the service to others? What am I doing to support either one? And when you think in that way, then you begin to change your perspectives.
I think that's so beautiful. I just want to add one last thing. Once I think I'm better than someone else, I'm less than all.
Mm.
Yeah. So I have a question on this. And this goes. So in order to love everyone, that means the people who aren't awake, the people who, trigger you in the worst way. It's not just loving people who are just like us, right?
Right.
And so that is the challenge. And that
Big
is
one.
where we're headed. And that's where, Chris talks about, when you see these other races who have accomplished that and are in this state, and they look at us, we look like barbarians to them, correct?
Yes.
I think we look like that to us too. Us too. It's crazy what humans do to each other. It's like, come on, let's
And these other races
all
can't
unite.
understand it. They understand the progression and evolution of our race, but they don't think that we should really be working with a lot of other races right now, because they don't think that we've really earned it, because we're so we're still killing each other, and they're like, why?
Why?
taking our aggressions out on the wrong people, ourselves, when it should be, it's a spiritual warfare. And there is a place, time and place for righteous anger and to stand our ground and to go take I still, that's how I view it. I might be more primitive than the rest of you, but take that spiritual battle and know how to use the weapons of war, which is, our words, and know that we have the truth and a true love. And you do it, you lay down your life for another. That's that agape love. It's a power that comes from us, from our heart, physically, but even in etheric energy and the spirit realm, the soul realm. So I still have that warrior mentality, but it might be on a little more primitive level than you guys, but that's how I look at it.
Well, the
I
goal
don't
is
see
for
this.
us to move beyond that mindset.
Yeah.
And we all have our different journey.
Yeah, we all have different viewpoints, which is great.
Yeah,
I know I
that's
do
very
spiritual
good.
warfare, and it works. Because if we've been given power, authority, and dominion here in this realm, for me as a Christian through Savior, then I know I don't need to be afraid of anything out there that's not like me, not of love, not that's hurting humanity. So I use my weapons of warfare to get to the spiritual realm. So that's not necessarily that I'm going kicking butt physically. Don't get me wrong.
But spiritually, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Yes, I know. So,
one of the things that I do personally for people on an individual level is to free them from negative attachments. And I remember, and I've learned, and I have like 100% success rate, that it's only ever done in love. It isn't done in judgment. Because you walk into a room and you flip on a dark room and you flip on a light switch, there's no darkness can be there. But if you go in there and you scream in the dark and you accuse, you're part of it.
Yeah.
So if you go in there
see,
through
the
love
flesh is
and
the
express
problem.
it,
It's the spirits that can work through us. That I see it that way.
yeah.
So it's
Well,
addressing
it's all
the
connected.
spiritual realm. Yeah.
None of it's disconnected. Yeah.
Honey, you were going to say something?
Yeah. So when you think about loving someone else, no matter what they're doing, remember that we are all cells in the body of God. So everybody's a cell in the body of God. So do you get really mad at another cell, or you just say, you go do you? I'm not going to participate, and I'm going to go ahead and do what I'm supposed to be doing. And I think when we remember it that way, it's so much easier than thinking we have to fight against, because a lot of times we're fighting against ourselves. Because there's so many shadows that have been, parts of us, other lifetimes, other experiences, and they come after us because they want attention. But when I look at things, I see things from the soul perspective. So I don't care whether you're an NPC, a hologram, whether you're, whatever you are. You're all a piece of consciousness. Everybody's a piece of consciousness. And you wouldn't be visible if you didn't have something. And just to let them do what they're doing. Now, if they're attacking you, you just say no and you cut it off. But you don't have to hate them because of it.
Right.
I agree.
Because they're a part of us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, if somebody's being abused, you go protect that person, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Intercessory prayer.
You just, because
Well, that's the beauty.
Physical life. So
The beauty of art too is it allows us a mindset where we can change the landscape, where we will then conceptualize that we are writing a piece for all humanity, good and bad. We're writing or sculpting for all humanity. It's easier for us, an artist, to visualize that I'm doing this as a service to humanity without judgment cast on anyone. And so you take it from a personal level and you take it into a universal level where it's not going to be an affront to me if people react a certain way. All I'm doing is presenting something as a service. and they can take it or leave it. I'm not going to lose skin over it, but I'm going to be able to feel good about that development in myself, or I was able to go through that journey of creating something out of love, like you were saying, Chris, something out of love. So we can do it through art. So I have an advantage, other artists like myself, where we have a very sweet path where we can enact the desire to see all humanity as worthy of service, as valuable through art.
And I
Art
think,
is it.
yeah. So, one of the things that I think is really important for people to understand is that we're not here to spiritually bypass. Like if you've been hurt, it's not about projecting your hatred out on someone else. You feel it and you need to process it and let it go. Because when you don't address it, it stays in your physical form and it can help it will cause you to project that pain onto others. And that's where violence and anger come in when you have all this unresolved pain. And so, when we talk about the love bubble and loving one another, part of the love is loving yourself and releasing yourself from that chain.
Yep.
And then once you do that, so the forgiveness is releasing yourself and then allowing yourself to move on. Yes, honey.
So just really quick, like Carrie was saying, you're allowed to say no to someone.
Yes.
You're allowed to state your opinion. You're allowed to be sovereign. You're allowed to, basically be extremely strong within yourself. Like, don't forget those things, but don't carry any hate along with it. Like there's so much jealousy and so much drama coming up right now. There's so many tech scams and weird things that are happening in the collective at the moment. And it's part of those 3D programs being ripped away right now. So do your best not to engage with them. Don't let them hang on to you. Just say, I see what you're doing and I'm not gonna do it with you.
Yeah. And the media is also quantum. There's a form of it that is giving us messages at a quantum level it's reaching our unconscious. And so it's really important to be careful what you're watching. And I know, as podcaster and there are podcasters here, you have to be aware of what's going on. But when you flood yourself with anger and fear and all the negative emotions, it's going to impact the way you see the world and lower your vibration.
I was going to add something too, Lisa. The quiet calm that certain individuals have speaks louder than the voices we all have. And I'm thinking of Michael right now, like Michael and Tracy Joe. Michael, I'd love to hear you talk because you've been so quiet, and I see like this presence, this calm, focused, quiet. Love doing your shows because I just always see it like a rock. So I'd love to know what some of your thoughts are, because I think that ability to be silent, the discussions are going on and people are going on, it's just real power. That's something that speaks louder than words from anybody. So I'd love to hear some more thoughts from Mike.
Yeah, thank you. So I talked about how on the physical realm I was doing amazing things, but the real amazing thing happened when I went into the quantum realm, where I was using my thoughts to basically come into an area that was full of violence, and I would fill it with a love bubble. And the love bubble would basically calm everything. Would all the violence would stop. It was like magical. It was amazing. Now, how did I get there? We're talking about how we're, getting rid of all the anger and stuff. I think I had years of Archangel Michael coming in and cutting cords all around me. I'd think of something, I was like, bring Archangel Michael in and cut the angry cords and so forth. Took a long time. And then I learned to send love to everyone that I saw and those that had done me wrong. And I just kept doing that. For years, I did this. And then eventually I got to the point where here I am in a combat zone. And, I've talked about the Archangel Michael experience I had because I went against a very dark entity, going against it like I'm going to fight it. Well, that's anger. That's, all the stuff that, you can't be there and be in the love at the same time. So it chased me back to my body, and then later the next night I was blown up. So so I got to see what that anger could be like, and I've talked about how I've had a lot of friends that had that anger, and they're no longer with us because they died in combat. So I died in combat because I had that anger. But Archangel Michael let me come back because I was like, oh, it helps humanity. And then I get this had this presence feeling, looked up, there's Archangel Michael, sends love into every cell of my body. And then from that point on, I started radiating that love. And that love stopped the violence. So the violence can't exist within that love vibrational field.
Hmm. And you know what, thank you for sharing that. And I think about, Tom, you talk about art, and Barrie, one of the things that art does is crack open our hearts. And I remember during COVID, Barrie did something in the community about this. She called it the Awakening Love Project. If you want to talk about that and how you
Sure.
saw the world, because I'm telling you, I could stand next to her and take the same photo and they don't look anything alike. And it because your art captures a piece of your soul, and that's what you're projecting. And I'll stand next to her and she's like, oh, look at those trees, and we'll both take that photo, and I'm like, how come yours looks so much better than mine?
Well, it's the same thing in when you teach, or like the watercolor class that I was just talking to you all about. Everybody looks at it differently, and that's what's so unique about each one of us, is that we're each these beautiful cells and being vessels that create within our own creation. We make art is really the true currency, and I don't like to use the word like the money currency, but the real currency of our whole being. And so yeah, during COVID, yeah, I yeah, I was like, what is going on? And everyone was doing all these portraits on front porch portraits. I don't know if you all had that, but the photographers were going around and photographing everybody. I'm going to get in the sun while I talk. Everyone was going and taking photos of everybody on their front porch with their family. The photographer was, and they all had their masks on, the family. And I'm like, I am not doing that. There is no way. So I took my dog and we went for walks, and I have my camera and my mountain bike and my dog, and off we went. And I would just go for walks and take these photos of the community, of everybody that was sad. But to tell you the truth, I was like, wow, what an eye opener this is. And plus, I got to hang out with Lisa during that, and we became good friends through this. And anyway, so what I would do is I go for walks, take photos of everybody's dogs, and then I would go print them. I had big printers, and then I would go and hang them around town because the town was kind of barren. And I would just make these galleries around town with the photos, the big photos on the walls. And then I told everybody to just go and pick them up. That was the way I gave back. And it was a real inward and upward journey for me. And really woke me up to a lot of things that, because I didn't understand all that we are going through now, of what I understand. But boy, yeah, I had studied a lot of this 15, 20 years, but I had no idea it was so incredibly deep. And so just keep doing art. That's what I would recommend. And yeah, give back to yourself and make sure you take good care of yourself. Be quiet.
Yeah, that's something she does really well, and I don't do well of it all.
I like I'm really gregarious and out there because of what I do for a living, but I'm also really like my quiet time. It's very important to me, and it really gives me the time to bring in all of my creations and just really be present.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Joe, you have any thoughts?
The first thought is that I think Chris and Tom remind me like they're brothers or something, and I can see them working on an amazing project at some point. I really can. Like I'm just watching them and how they carry themselves, and the inner child that they have in each of them, and they're just amazing guys.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I wanted to say.
But as a musician,
Thank-
though, and how your music is such a huge part of who you are and how you express, just like art, we've got writers here, we've got artists, we've got a musician here. You know, if you think about why have the schools suppressed all of these things? They take art and music and all this creativity out of the schools. How important these things are to all of us.
Yeah, well, that's a great point. I mean, I found it's interesting you say that because I had a conversation with my father before he passed, and he said, you know, why didn't you tell me that you were, you know, into music and acting and all this stuff when you were younger? I'm like, Dad, I didn't know. I found it more like in my, you know, music I found more in like 1920, and then I didn't get into acting really. I mean, I auditioned for a Sea Galley commercial and I was missing a tooth as a child, so I missed that because I was, you know, I didn't have a tooth. They probably wanted a full smile. But you know, I grew up in Catholic Jesuit education, and it was very focused on, you know, those people that were going to be doctors or lawyers or what have you. And I never really fit into that. And so, yeah, and it's really been great to watch my nieces and nephews get involved in music more over the years. But yeah, I don't know, especially in my upbringing, it just didn't seem like something that if you can't really make a living at it, then it didn't feel like it was all that supported, if that makes sense. And so, I mean, it's interesting, like in the songs I've done, in fact, from you doing your book, I'm now going to put a short film together of the 5 music videos that I've done over the last 5 years and kind of narrate that. But it's this movement that's really got me back into it in some ways, because I just felt like, and you know, I've been you feel this off and on, but when the people you look up to are in their 20s or 30s and they're successful, and then, you know, you're a decade or two past that, you kind of start going, well, I don't really know who my role models are anymore, or the people I've looked up to, they're part of the cabal. And so it's kind of, I'm kind of in a holding pattern in some ways. And I'll just lay it out there for you guys. Between the censorship, between Louis Herms getting only 2,100 votes in California, and the health problems I've had with my producer, you know, that he's had, I just feel like there's been so many obstacles lately that I just kind of need to, you know, allow this a little bit more up to the divine timing, because you can't force this stuff. And so it's kind of great that you actually brought that up, because even now I'm kind of in this, you know, I don't play a lot live, and that's the whole reason I got into music in the first place. And with AI coming out, and I'd love to hear Tom's take on this, with AI coming out, like, yeah, there's certain things about it that I think are beneficial for people. But when nearly every podcaster has an AI song with AI music video, it's just kind of like, it's kind of a weird place to be in right now. So that's kind of where I'm at currently, but I am going to finish this song at some point this year, and it's about the children, and I'm excited about it. So that's where I'm at currently.
Just keep believing in what you do, Joe. Just keep believing, because that's quantum. It doesn't matter about all that. Just go with it.
Yeah.
Flow with it.
Follow your
You're
heart.
so talented.
Yeah.
Yeah. Follow your
Also,
heart and just
find the
don't
hero
listen to all that.
within yourself.
Yeah.
This is your greatest.
It's you.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
the creator.
And
Right.
when I was 15, I went to a summer program at Rhode Island School of Design, which is one of the top art schools in the country, if not the world. And towards the end of it, the dean came in and sat me down in her office and said, "You're in. When you apply, it's just a formality. We want you as a student here." It was the first time, because I had learning disabilities, that I was like, I'm good. Like I'm good at something. Like someone saw something in me because I didn't see it. I was so broken as a child. I didn't see it. And I allowed that part of me to be crushed because after that, my parents were so worried that I'd be a poor starving artist. Unlike Barrie, who said, show me, I'll show you. My parents were like, we don't want to support you the rest of your life, and we don't want you to marry a poor starving artist and have to support both of you for the rest of your life. So that was just not allowed. And I didn't have that voice. It wasn't until I had a breakdown later on in life. So you don't necessarily have to know who you are. If my 63-year-old self now could go back and talk to that 15-year-old and said, you've written books, you've traveled the world, you've done all of these things, you raised two amazing children. Like if I could tell that little girl of my accomplishments, I wouldn't have believed it. I would have been just stunned. And I think part of this is when you heal that little girl or little boy inside of you and allow whatever comes out. And you don't have to become a world famous musician. You don't have to become a world famous artist. Joe, your music touches me in such ways. I've cried listening to some of your songs, and your song Freedom Now is such an amazing anthem for what we have been going through. And there's an energy and a vibration that comes through your music that touches the hearts of people. And it doesn't matter if it reaches the top 100 chart to me. It's
Right.
like the people that get influenced by your music get touched by your music. And you make them feel better.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean that is the goal, to feel something.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, you're right about that. It's great. It's inspiring because sometimes we all got to recharge the batteries and help each other with that. Because so sometimes when you're alone, it can be a gift and it can be isolating. But I think I thrive. Part of my personality is thriving in community and working with people, and I think that's the part for me that's been challenging at times, because I really do enjoy working with people and bouncing ideas off of others. So yeah, no, this is great food for thought. So thank you.
I could have done the same thing with digital photography back in 1997 when I started digital, where I was analog 25 years prior. Like you just got to roll. The way I see it, you have to roll with it and just follow your path and just believe in who you are, because you're so fabulous.
Yes.
Well,
You are.
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Well, what's coming to me through I'm loving the stories, and I'm thinking about each of us has had whatever happened in our childhood that brought us to wherever we are. And probably most of us have been rejected at one time or the other. My energy was so crazy that people rejected me a lot, but I kept coming to the top of the surface and using humor to get there. But I was remembering I was walking, I was a protester, and I was walking, protesting the Seabrook nuclear power plant. Okay. But anyway, I was walking with this guy, Philip Kenny, Monsignor Philip Kenny I was in New Hampshire, and I had my four children. We'd already been protesting. We'd climbed over fences. I mean, it was crazy, but they had a great life because I got to learn all this stuff. Anyway, I'm walking along and I'm telling him I'm at divinity school and I'm doing this and that. And he stopped me. This is Phil Kenny, and I'm not Catholic, by the way. I'm Episcopalian. So this is a Monsignor. He said, Jennifer, I need to ask you something. I said, what? And I thought, oh God, what did I do? Because I was just on and on excited about the kids and seminary. He stopped me and he said, did you know that enthusiasm is a grace from God and you have it abundantly? And I went, honest, I went, oh my God. I said, I was my worst problem. I always thought it was my fault. It didn't just that changed me forever. Of course, I went home and called mother and talked to her. But I use that in therapy with all these kids. I was working with a lot of these kids until 2 years ago that were ADHD or whatever they were. Oh, bring them to me. Autistic. Okay, bring them to me. And I'd say the same thing to them because I'd say, "Are you having mystical experiences?" And they'd say, "Yeah, I've been traveling out of space." Oh, good. We could talk. I'm a believer, you know? And so I was able to then tell them that story about the enthusiasm. And I want to say that each of you has people that have come to you, I'm sure of it, that are angels, and that guy was, but that are angels that have woken you up. So actually, I'm not worried at all. I think the quantum is the people that are the angels that come out of the woodwork and wake us up. And boy, have I met a lot of them over the years, as some of you know. So that's what I have to say.
That's
Wow.
great. Everyone here is an angel to me. So
Wow.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same. I wish I could have all 36 authors on, but it's very
Gary, I'll come fly with you over
I
there.
know.
Please do. Come fly with me.
I love it.
I wish I could have all 36 authors on at once, but one of the things that's coming up is we're doing a big author event for this book, We Are Quantum, and it's on June 16th. And if you go on the website under books, you'll see We Are Quantum. And so you click on the authors event. We have 194 people signed up already. I had to upgrade my Zoom account.
Good.
I'm so excited. So this is an opportunity to meet and have a Q&A with some of the authors. It's going to be like I've got over 20 of the authors showing up so far. People still have to register.
Great.
And then for people who are overseas in Europe, my friend Renata, she lives between Australia and the Czech Republic, and we're doing one at 6 a.m. Eastern time, which is like 11 or 12 in Europe. And I think Abby Wynn is in Ireland, and then I have a friend Solveig who's in the book. She's in Sweden, and my friend Wendy, who is going to be flying out to Sweden that morning, so she'll be on at 6 a.m. as well. So if you're overseas, you can get into one of these. So that's going to be there's two that day. And I'm really excited because my goal is, again, if there's one person here, if you read one person's story and that impacts you to really go deep. And also on that platform, I've interviewed just about everyone. There's one more person who I still get to get her out. And I have Chris's video isn't up yet. It's got to be on the through my web designer. I've sent her everything, but there's a couple people who aren't fully up yet, but they will be. You'll be able to see them on my YouTube channel. They're also posted there. Dr. Northrup unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. She had a death in the family. She wrote the foreword and has been an amazing support to me. She endorsed my first book, In Every Belief Is a Lie, and she wrote the foreword. And I have quite an amazing video interview with her. That'll be up hopefully early this week as well. But really amazing people, very diverse group, and a lot of really cool stories. And I was glad to get Kevin Hoyt in before he had to skedaddle. But really, really amazing people here.
And so are you.
Oh,
Definitely.
Lisa.
thank you.
Thank you for all you've done.
Yeah. Well, it's been a true labor of love. And, of course, after writing my first book, I'm like, oh, a collaborative book, that'll be easy.
You did it.
Yeah. But, over a year later, it's been such a beautiful lesson for me and working with the individual people and getting the stories in and seeing how diverse. And the biggest challenge was really what order to put them in. Because to weave a whole story of getting everyone's messages out so they made sense, not just to throw stuff together. So that's been challenging. And I love my friends, Joelle and Dana out of Montreal. They did the web design, and they've really done, and the book cover. They did amazing amazing job. I'm so thrilled with how it turned out.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, what amazing collaboration with all those authors. Wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
I've never seen
finally-
anything like it.
Yeah, I finally had to stop and now and I keep going, damn, I want that person in and that person in. I'm like, am I gonna have to do a part 2?
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
You know what? And you know, it might be everyone in the world because everyone is quantum. You know, everyone
There's
has
something to
special.
that.
Yeah.
You're reminding me of Chicken Soup for the Soul. You have to have a whole series.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be amazing.
Definitely.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for having
Thank
us
you,
all
Michael.
on. I so appreciate
you.
this. This is
Yeah, it
really
was great.
Yep.
We had great audience. YouTube loved it, and yeah, we'll share it everywhere. We'll share it with you guys. So share it to all your sites. So it's
Yeah.
gonna be amazing, amazing
Yeah.
information, amazing stories, and highly, like you saw on Lisa's site where it says live video. Each one of the authors, she's gonna put a couple more in there. She's talking about, but everyone has their own video. You can go in there. Jen was telling me how she was going like, I'm gonna go through every one of them. It's like it takes a little bit, but yeah.
She's like, Chris's isn't up yet. I'm like, I know. They're taking the weekend off. They'll get it up. I promise. So I sent her. His is up on my. Please go to my YouTube channel. I've been trying to grow them. Not all of them are. Some of them are private. You can get them through the website. But you can also, Chris's is live, and so is Dr. Northrup's on my website, on my YouTube channel, Lisa Schermerhorn.
good.
So
Okay.
you'll be able to see those there.
So your what's your YouTube?
It's Lisa Schermerhorn coaching. I think it's coaching, but Lisa Schermerhorn. If you figure out spell my last
How
name,
to
I'll
spell
get
it.
there. That's why I changed my website to Lisa Mindset because I couldn't take spelling it anymore.
Took me a long time to spell it right.
Oh my gosh, it took me.
Same here.
Even Lisa's still trying to figure out how to spell.
I know. And when I got divorced, I had the opportunity to go back to my maiden name. I'm like, I've been this name for 30 years. No one knows me. Other name. I think I'm stuck with it.
I remember when we first started doing shows together, and you're like, Schermerhorn.
Don't forget the C. S-C-H.
And there's a railway. They're part of New York has Schermerhorn. Go ahead,
Hoyt.
Lisa.
Yeah, there's in Brooklyn. There's actually a subway station that's Schermerhorn Hoyt. The sign actually
Really?
shows it there.
Right.
Yeah, it's Schermerhorn is actually. Yeah, we didn't come from the wealthy family. We're the poor dirt farmers in upstate New York. But
No, you did. You
anyway.
were way wealthier. You were
Yeah.
way wealthier.
Well, no, in my heart, yes.
Because you were in the dirt.
Yes, I was in the
You were with the earth.
All right, everyone. That's fabulous. Thanks everybody that joined us. Thanks for all the authors here. That great presentation. Everybody gave some great insights. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael and Tracy.
Thank you, Michael.
Lisa.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
You guys.
Bye.
All right.